third rock from the sun, that's our planet. It's a perfect planet. The only one we know with all the right balance to sustain life. But it's a planet that is fast reaching a point of unsustainability, mainly because of our unchecked use of resources and our amazing ability to generate waste. Waste that is polluting our land, air, and water systems. We find mountains of it piling up. We find it floating in the oceans. We find it as smoke up in the air. So why is there so much waste? The reason for that is population, globalization, commercialization. These are big words, but then it's a big problem. And in the face of any big problem that requires a transformational change, our natural response is denial or forced ignorance, or we might tell ourselves, I will make a difference, I will make an impact. So let's narrow the focus for a while. The sudden explosion of the waste problem we're seeing since the past 10 years can be put down to a simple and innate desire for convenience. We all want a convenient life. We want things to be faster, simpler, easier, smarter. And it's a desire that has also pushed us to create, innovate, and made us into this developed, advanced race that we are now. But on the flip side, it has also made us lazy and disconnected. Lazy in an unconventional way. We now live in this circle, this bubble of convenience. And we don't want to step out of this. This is our comfort zone. And we don't care about what happens to anything outside this circle. We buy the latest smartphones and we just throw the old one out. We don't care what happens to it. It's outside our circle of convenience. We sit at home and we order food on one of many food delivery apps. The food comes all packaged, warm and nice, in bags and boxes. We eat the food and we throw the bag out. Again, we don't care what happens to it. It's outside our circle of convenience. And this is the bubble of convenience. We work hard, we earn money, and we buy things with it. And a lot of us now say we segregate waste into dry, wet, and reject. And we say, okay, this is enough. We've done our bit. But it is not enough. Studies have shown that only 60% of the waste that we generate is recycled. That is because only the high value waste with the economic value, is picked up for recycling. All the rest, for example, the single use plastics that is so common now, is left to go to the landfills, is burnt, or is dumped in the drains. And when we see the magnitude of waste that is generated, we see why the problem is so obvious. To give you some perspective, food delivery apps in our country get around 35 million orders a month. This translates to around 20,000 kgs of packaging waste alone a month from food delivery companies. With that much waste, in half a month, you can fill up this whole auditorium. But that has become our mantra, a new mantra: buy, use, throw, repeat. This is our linear model. A linear model is a straight line. It's a finite line. In this model, we extract resources, we create a product out of it, we use the product, and then we throw it out. It becomes waste. It does not come back into the system. And it is this model that is pushing our planet to that point of unsustainability. We need to turn this around. We need to connect the end of the line back to the start. We need to transform the linear model into a circular model. A circular model is one wherein after we're done using the product, it doesn't get thrown out as waste. Instead, it is brought back into the system. It is reused or recycled to make new products. In order to bring this transformational change from a linear model to a circular model, We have three main actors, each with a role to play, who all have to work together. The first actor are the private companies, the capitalistic corporations. They are the creators of the products that we use and consume. They are the ones always cutting corners, pushing their profit margins. They are the evil ones. But are they really that evil? Because after all, they're responding to market demand, a market that is us. So what if we want more sustainable products? You think these private companies will respond? Will they create products to make for a less wasteful planet? I believe they just might. Not all of them, but at least some of them. Not many of you might know about Project Ara. Project Ara is a smartphone project under development by Google. At its heart, it's a modular smartphone. It consisted of hardware modules for display, for battery, processor, camera, etc. The concept was that if you want to upgrade the phone, you can just switch out the module instead of replacing the whole device. For example, if you want a better camera, you can take out the old camera module and put in a new one. You want a faster phone, take out the old processor and put in a new one. In an attempt to reduce the waste generated and increase the life cycle of this device. A lot of people are excited, I was one of them. But unfortunately, Project Ara was suspended. Project Ara was turning out to be more expensive. The model of smartphone was turning out to be more expensive than the single-use phones we all have today. And if it's more expensive, less people would have bought it. So sustainability has not come cheap. And Project Ara did not pass the test of market economics. But how could it have? It didn't have a level playing field. It was operating at an economic disadvantage. So how do we give initiatives like these a level playing field? And more importantly, how do we make private companies follow a more sustainable path? That's where the second player comes in, the government. The government, how can the government help? It can help through policies and regulation. For example, in the case of Project Ara, if there was a policy in place wherein all single-use phones had to pay an extra tax, a green tax, over its final cost, making it more expensive, maybe as expensive as the Project Ara modular phone. Then Project Ara wouldn't have to work at an economic disadvantage. It would have had that level playing field. That's how governments can help. And governments are stepping up. They are becoming more conscious and trying to come up with laws to make for a less wasteful planet. For example, the ban on plastics in Mumbai, the ban on plaster of Paris Ganesh idols that are being immersed in water, polluting them. The government of India has committed that by the year 2022, it will eliminate all single-use plastics from India. This goes to show that the government is also trying to do its bit, but it needs to do a lot more. It needs to legislate these big businesses, the private companies, and force them to follow a sustainable path. But how much can the government do? Or rather, how much will the government do? Because the government is an elected body. It is a reflection of us. And that's why the third and the most important actor with a role to play is us. We need to push our companies, our government, and society to be more conscious of the waste that is being generated. To do that, we as individuals first need to be more conscious. We have to be aware of what happens to things we throw away. Because what we throw away does not go away. It is still right here. We need to be able to step out of this circle of convenience, this bubble of convenience. We need to play a more active part in trying to solve this problem. 3 years ago, I decided to play a more active part. And I stumbled upon a problem, the problem of thermocol waste. Thermocol is a lightweight packaging material that normally comes with electronic devices like TVs, refrigerators, ovens, etc. After its use, it's thrown away. And even though thermocol is a plastic and is 100% recyclable, it was not being recycled. The garbage collectors would refuse to pick it up. Instead, it was being sent to the landfills, it was being burnt, or it was being thrown in the drainage system, clogging it up. The reason for this is that thermocol is 95% air. It's lightweight and it takes up a lot of space. So for a garbage collector to come collect and store thermocol would mean he's storing 95% air. For a garbage collector to take the thermocol all the way to recyclers who are normally on the outskirts of the cities far away to sell it to them would mean he's transporting mostly air. It wasn't profitable for him, and that's why they weren't collecting it. And this was a linear model in the case of thermocol. In my attempt to convert this linear model into a circular model, Terminator was born. Terminator is a machine that very simply uses heat and pressure to compress the thermocol and remove the air from it. Once the air is removed, it becomes compact, it becomes heavy. Now the garbage collector can store it, collect it, and transport to the recyclers and sell it for a profit. And this was my attempt to solve one problem. Like these, there are many problems, especially here in India. So we as working class citizens, as students, need to inculcate this thinking of circular model into everything we do. The products we create, the jobs we do, the services we provide, the lives we lead. We need to have a dialogue with the government, communicate with them, make them understand. And we have to make the government come up with policies, laws, and regulations that will in turn force the companies to redesign their packaging, redesign their products to make them more sustainable, to make them more reusable and recyclable. In the end, we all have to wear green tinted glasses rooted in a view of sustainability to even hope for a better tomorrow. We can't just hope, that's not enough. We also have to act. We have to act to save our cities, our country, and our planet from being buried under a mountain of